right, guys. I'm sorry about the delay in getting you coverage. I've never been this late to get coverage out after a game, especially after a hot one like this. But for a few reasons, it was difficult to get it done. First off, did all kinds of walking and got home late. But since I've been doing this coverage for you guys, I've tried to do this like a journalist. I've tried to cut out the heart of being a cover guy, except on game day, and just try to get to the information, to give you the best information that I can, and really not be affected by how I feel, because by nature, I'm just a very emotional person. But this game hit me in a different way than it's been for a very, very long time. I felt like a kid again. And part of that was I went with my man, PJ, who brought me, great Dolphins fan. He's had tickets since 1974. And I sat with him. It was wonderful. I'm like, thank you, PJ. I appreciate that so much, brother. It was an awesome night. My wife was taken care of. I went there. If you've never been to a home game for the Dolphins, you got to go. I felt like I became a better fan, the fan part, by going in and seeing these people really give their souls and hearts to the team. My wife walked there, and she was taken care of like a queen. People were so nice to her. She had such a great time. And I'm watching all these fans, and I'm from New York, so you go to Jets games, and you don't see the same thing. It's the same thing. I had gone to the Orange Bowl in '97, but it was a preseason game. But going here, you really see these people, what they give, how much unity there is, kids and adults and people with issues showing up, guys, Gorilla Joe, guys, people and girls dressing up and sweating their brains out to bring cheer and exuberance and joy to the fans. It's an unbelievable thing. And I really felt at the game, watching it, I felt it. I'm watching these fans afterwards and how gutted they were. And it really made me, I couldn't process Evaluator Curtis at that point until only a little while ago. I came home late last night, got up early this morning, breaking down the stats, trying to process what I thought, going over the film. I will have a load of film for you. There's going to be some changes to the channel. I'll explain that later on. But I want to get to the heart of this situation, because I do feel I'm back to Evaluator Curtis, although it's like chain rattling of a ghost of emotions. And so the name of the podcast is going to be what we saw as 4D chess was really checkers. And when I started this season, I have had these evaluations. I don't know anybody else who has. I said that Chris Greer and his build, and it's his build, he's in charge. Maybe McDaniel gets on board, but Chris Greer's build has been that way for years. He's an avant-garde approach. And the road he took was less traveled. And if it was a success, it would make all the difference. But the road less traveled is filled with people who've gone down that road, been eaten by bears, and then pooped out. And Chris Greer and his philosophy, his entire build is now clearly pooped out, and it's a foundational disaster. I'm sure there'll be holdouts. I'm sure there will be a media push. It's all going to be good, and we'll get picks next year. Maybe. Evaluation should be maybe. But where's the evidence for that? This is a foundational disaster. And Chris Greer should be given the dunce clown hat and driven out like Frankenstein. Until he is, this will not get better. You look at the Chiefs, Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Dallas, Eagles, Packers, 49ers, and maybe you want to throw Jets in a couple of teams. They're all seeing the way it's going. Pass balance. Throw that football, but you got to run. You got to run inside. And you got to build an offensive line. Defense is understood. It's a passing league. They're all into focusing on the pass. And now you got to get them inside a little bit with that run. You got to have an offensive line to support your quarterback and your team. Chris Greer said, I know better. And it's a disaster. I'm going to show you some clear stuff. I've been showing you for a while. Go check whose evals were out there. My pregame eval, I did say I thought they would win because I'm going there. I want to be a fan. I said, but if, and I did a Bills podcast, which was more, just intellectually driven. You've got to run inside. I've been saying that. If you watch from the game and you see it on TV, even if you go to all 22, it's not the same as when you're there. teams, what they do is from the inside shoulder or even middle of the tackle to 5 yards box, they leave barren. They play outside leverage by the edge players. Linebackers play practically 5 yards off, and then they shell, and they say, run us out of it. And you can go see some success in the run game, but it's because of they're doing this, and it's all about movement and finesse. But that stuff doesn't play out in the long term. We can't drive block. We can't run teams out of that nickel. And that's why Tua has the problems he has. Look at Allen, offensive line, injured hand. People are saying, what we do? Stop Allen run, stop Allen this, stop Allen that. Allen didn't beat us. The defense beat us because we're one-dimensional. They said beat us through the pass, beat us inside, and couldn't. And they ran the football. And our defensive interior has a lot of issues. Our offensive line is a disaster. And I'm showing you right here what I've been talking about. Last week, people put up, look at the PFF grades, but there was no further context around it. Well, I had context. Let's look at this. Liam Eichenberg. I'm sorry, Liam Eichenberg. True pass set protection, 26.6. We ended up getting about 14 true pass sets, and that was because we got desperate as the game went on. Tehran, 7.5. Tehran, I'm sad to say, I love my man Tehran. This guy is so hurt, so broken down. He looked like he was taking advantage last week. He is in bad, bad shape. Lester Cotton, 52. Austin Jackson, 25.1. Robert Jones, 0. And people will say, well, Robert Jones, if you go back, I'll show you the film where Tua gets sacked. They run 4, I believe, and they do an outside rush, and Robert Jones by himself, and he comes back inside and sacks Tua. Brewer rolled to 2nd and 3rd round pick Liam Eichenberg, who doubled his guy, let Brewer take him, and then 2nd and 3rd round pick Liam Eichenberg rolled to 1st round pick $12 million Jackson, and those two guys were on one guy. And UDFA, who is a right guard, who's supposed to be getting pass protection help, left guard, if you want to say that, whatever, the run driving guard who's not a zone blocker. He's not a second level guy. He's a power driver blocker who should be getting help in pass pro, was left on his own. And 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round pick and $12 million, Jackson is on one guy. So while Jones failed his situation, his assignment, was he set up for success? And if you eval him properly, you know he doesn't fit the scheme. But then you have to roll help to the guys that you're saying are so good and you invested so much in. This is the craziness. There is a whole host of things I've been saying, sadly, are going to play out. I feel bad for Tua. Tua didn't have a bad game. He didn't. I mean, I'm concerned that when he scrambled, he should. If you watch when you watch the game, you saw Allen dive. His hand was hard. He's like, even Allen, hard-headed Allen, dived, slid a yard and a half to 2 yards before he was about to get touchdown. That's really weird. But he was smart. But he understood that he was being supported. He no longer has to carry the team, and he's Josh Allen. Tua, whatever you say about him, like he should have slid, whatever, you don't like him. The guy he knows he's got problems, and he gave his all. Kid's got a good heart. But when he got hit, it's the inside of the arm. It wasn't the forearm, the knee. I mean, the neck getting cranked is a lot. But that's a basic hit, guys. And for him to it was ugly. Watching it live, I knew as soon as it happened. It was bad. You see it on TV, it probably looked worse because you can see it close up. But ask yourself, why do you draft a guy with an injury history and then you don't protect him? You don't build an offensive line around him. He's got to say, well, I don't care who's in front of me. I'm just going to throw faster. Oh, throw fast. You can't throw faster all the time. If you throw fast because it's part of your strategy and you have all the tools in the toolkit, you could do that. But it was out of necessity, not out of desire, intention. And it is so obvious. His time to throw on 75.9% of his plays was 1.89. Here I suck. Maybe it's 7. That's crazy. 75.9. He was only blitzed 3 times. That tells you the DC goes, you know what? I don't really need to blitz them. I'll get what I want with my 4, drop to 7, And that's it. Didn't run blitzes. They didn't run blitz. They didn't pass blitz because they know football. I've said to you for years, and people, maybe I'll say I'm negative or I don't understand modern football. The offensive line makes the NFL world go round. And the Chiefs, Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Dallas, Eagles, Packers, 49ers, you want to say the Jets and a couple other teams, they all think differently. You see the results. You can't have all these gap movement, slide, and it looks good for a second, but in the end, you come up to a point where you got to drive guys. And they say, okay, here we go. They crunch the box up, and you ain't going anywhere. They blow you up. That 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, where Engel got slammed. I said the previous week, a lot of stuff you saw, small front, in the heat, time of possession, not really, noted for run blocking, not really set up if you look at their prototypes across the board for that kind of stuff. And we picked it up. I said, well, let's see if that was the environment or what they can do. It's a bad situation. But you'll have people, I hate Tua, he sucks. McDaniel's an idiot. Even the offensive line, or whatever you want to say. But all circles back to one guy. The guy who's the architect. The guy who never seems to be responsible. And I don't know if it will finally be this year, but if you're a Dolphins fan, you want to talk about Tua, we're talking about McDaniel, offensive line, whatever. But all that has been created by one guy. It's my evaluation. It's been my evaluation for a while, and I've been fair with it. Let's see. But there's no way you can put this team together with these aging pieces and the way you've created a whole thing quick enough for it all to coalesce again. You're going to need 3 to 4 years to rebuild this thing. And what's going on with Tua? Can he play this game without taking a hit like that again? And how many of these concussions can he take? It's up to him to decide. But at some point, that's scary. So this situation, unfortunately, is a bad foundational crisis. And I know we got all picks next year. Should get the piece. It's not going to work. You're going to have to get a guy who can process ultra fast or throw ultra fast to take this thing over. You're going to need him as a backup too, because Tua goes down. Skylar can't handle it, can't process fast enough. You've built this thing in such a pigeonholed way on finesse. And the game of football, you're in the AFC East. The Bills are your number one opponent. They play in bad weather. Jets, they're going all out. They play in bad weather. Patriots, they play in bad weather. And the top teams in the AFC are the Chiefs, Ravens, and you want to say maybe Chargers up and coming, whatever. Pittsburgh, you got to watch out for. The Browns. These are all bad weather teams. And the game of football can be complex. You can dial up very interesting things and catch people. But ultimately, keep it simple, stupid, is how you build consistency. The offensive line sets the consistency for the entire team. It's a way of not making things overly complicated or overly difficult. It lowers the complexity level, allows you to be simple. You have to be. You can't always dial these fancy things up with fast players. It's not how it works in the game of football. A lot of people don't understand this. It's about hurting people, beating them into ground mentally and physically. Austin Jackson gets totaled way too much for what you're paying and what you drafted him. Who in their right mind would have kept Eichenberg this long? And then Meyer is your backup center. And Cotton and Jones. Jones is not fitted for the system. Why did they resign him? They could have found somebody else. They could have drafted somebody. They could have done something. Connor Williams is starting. He had a better game than Brewer last week. He's going to have a better season. If you watch the game, count how many times Brewer's on the ground. A play might have happened behind him, and it looked good, but watch him on the ground. You have too many offensive linemen on the ground, and it makes things too difficult. Ramsey, injured, whatever, you paid him the number one top cornerback in the league. He got toasted. Holland had some fails. Poor Jalen Phillips. He didn't look good. And obviously, he played a lot of snaps week one. Close game. You got to watch out for this kid. We're grinding players up. Teron, you want to get on Teron? This guy is going, he's going to suffer for many, many years. His body is going to hurt for what he's doing here. If somebody grounds you up for 2 years, why not take the next one, they ask? Who wouldn't? Would you not take $14 million after they ground you into the earth and you know that you're going to be hurting and limping and in pain, not being able to sleep at night, probably for the rest of your life. It's got to go back to the architect. Remember, our offensive line is good. Fans are more worried about it than we are this year. We're more confident with the offense. I told you, I said the sell job was so high that it made me nervous that they know it's so bad they're covering it up with BS. We don't care about injured players. Remember, Hunt was too expensive. Wilkins was too expensive. But our two biggest flaws, we can't run inside. We got a poor offensive line. And now we really can't stop the inside runs. We could have signed him in 22 for much less than what market value is. And maybe if you didn't pay some of these skill positions, you'd be tougher and you'd be more balanced. Football is not about having one really good trait. Football, from a strategic level and a tactical level, is having enough in every little skill set that you can attack your opponent's weakness at a reasonable ability. Look at the 49ers. Their offensive line is not very good, but they're balanced. They can run inside zone. They can run gap zone. They can run outside zone. They can pass protect. They can do some screens. Whatever your weakness is, they can attack it at a reasonable level. They've got Trent Williams, Hall of Fame player, to anchor, who's always there, just about, to anchor that offensive line. And the guys across the board are all better than us. So you can't use that as a equal, it's apples and oranges. If I have a test for two kids in math, they're 12th graders, and I give one kid an addition test, and I give the other one a calculus test, and the kid with the addition gets a 95, and the kid taking the calc test, same grade, he gets an 80. Who really did better? We have created all these quick throws, and I said we added the screens and the play actions, not to take advantage, but because we understood our offensive line was even worse, and we've got to hide it. And so you look at some stuff and you're like, well, you know, he's doing this. Yet we were playing addition. The rest of the league can handle calculus. But then when they force us to take the calculus test, we get a 0. And that's the way it's going to be. It's sad. I feel bad for the guys sacrificing their bodies. I feel bad for the quarterback, Tua, who's so dependent on his offensive line. He's got to throw fast. And even when you're down all those points, you're willing to charge for it and sacrifice yourself because we set him up to fail. If you're a Tua fan, how can you not have some like animus or ire for the guy who's putting him out, hanging him out to dry? Remember in 2021, the Tua got his butt handed to him. We said, Karras, we don't need you. He went to have like almost a Pro Bowl season with the Patriots. We traded Flowers to the Skins for a 7th round pick. He was the best offensive lineman the year before. And we went with Jackson and Eichenberg and Jesse Davis at tackle. And we get screwed. But Tua is the guy who gets his behind beat. So if you like Tua, she'd be like, hey, they're taking my friend out, hanging him out to dry. And not only going to do that, it's going to be in the media now. Now, Tua will rise and he can't, and his body, and the people who set this whole thing up, they're going to fade farther and farther back as the media narrative rises to obfuscate their culpability. So I'm sorry I have to say this. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, guys. Some stuff's going on in the background. But I said long ago that my number one job for you, for my own integrity, was to be honest and then try to be as accurate as I can. I've held this line for years now, and it's hurt my bottom line. I don't have the subs that some people, it's 4D chess. I'm not saying they're bad people. Maybe they misevaled. I don't know. But if I had been Mr. 4D chess, I would have had a bigger channel. My sponsors would have been happier. But I refused to do that. And I was hoping I was inaccurate. I would have preferred that. Then I could have just gone to, at 4D chess, and I'd have got more guys and more subs and all that other stuff. So I got one more season, definitely. And I put in like a little Twitter thing. I'm viewing myself at this stage as the Braveheart. And Chris Greer is my Longshanks. This is my swan song. I'm going to stick to my eval, which I don't know how you can refute. Because it's right. It's accurate. And I always hated, as a Dolphins fan, before I started doing this for a living, believing it was my year. And then finding out I sold a bad bill of goods. And then resold the next year. I refuse to do that. So, Dolphin fans, I'll be back with you for some real good coverage. Still in Miami. My wife had a great time. It was so, I wish you could have seen the victory. she wants to go back. She's like, I want to watch the next game. And that means the world to me. And I want to thank the Dolphin fans who were there. Me seeing you, my wife seeing you, the way you treated my wife and me and all that other stuff, PJ, it was something very, very special. And I think any Dolphins fan needs to have one of these events. It will actually help you be far more passionate about your team and your fan base, and even more compassionate. And it's a real blast. What a beautiful place. Stephen Ross built a beautiful place. I got some stories about Stephen Ross from inside sources I'm not going to talk about. But Stephen Ross, for all his failures, really loves this team. He's a real Dolphins fan. I think that he doesn't know when to pull his nose out of business and he screws it up. He's a master of business and building, but it's the converse with football because he doesn't understand the Warriors mindset. He needs a GM that says, Stephen, I respect you. If you don't want me here, I'm going to leave, but I'm in charge of football operations. And then he just deals in football. A football guy. Chris Greer is an intellect, but he doesn't understand the basic premise, physicality, and punishment and pain. And it looks good here and there. He loves it. That's not football. Stephen Ross, I think, I disagree with on a lot of stuff. I think he is a real Dolphin fan who's tried his best. He just doesn't know the right way. And I pray that we can get the right GM in here, start with the scouting squad, the staff, and says, hey, Stephen, you want me here? I'm going to do my best to win. But you got to let me get in there and put my guys in the scouting staff and then let me make all the choices. And if not, whether it be in a contract or an agreement, then I'm out of here. It has to have the integrity. Don Shula was a man of integrity and said he was wrong. He was wrong. I would have thought they should have got rid of him. But he was like, I'm in charge of football operations. You got me here for that. Let me be in charge or I'm out. And that's the kind of person we need here to run Miami. Stephen Ross building, giving the money, and trusting that he found a true football guy to put this together. And I hope he gets it before his time on this earth leaves. Because a lot of things I heard, I was really like, whoa. I mean, I kind of knew it, but when you hear it firsthand, it's good stuff. Fortunately, you just got to learn to stay out of it. So let's hope it goes that direction. I don't know if I've gone on too long. This is really just, it's intellectually driven, but passionate, from the heart. So I'll get back to normal stuff. When I get back home, I'll have some film while I'm cutting up now, doing it now. Wife's out enjoying Miami while I'm doing this. She'll be back with tonight. But I appreciate all you Dolphins fans and everything else. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out.